Don't forget to like and subscribe to Jolie Knots Crochet. Hit share, go ahead and share with your friends, or you can hit that little bell to get notifications when new patterns release. Hi everyone, welcome back to Jolie Knots Crochet. I'm Crystal, and today we are going to be working on part 2 of our With Love Granny Afghan. The part that we're going to be working on today are decreases. So what yours should look a lot bigger than this. You should have your Afghan grown to the width and the height that you would like your blanket. And you should have 1 heart increase per repeat, okay? Getting started on our decrease. Our decrease is going to be worked out over the course of 1 heart. So for our first 6 rows, we will be increasing. And then on our 7th row is when we're going to start our decrease. So here's what I'm going to leave you to. I am going to let you go ahead and continue rows 13 through 19 as our increase rows, and then I'm going to show you how to decrease over our last 2 rows. Okay, so here we are at the end of our first decrease row. I've got my row of my 5 groups of granny stitches, and at the end here what we're going to do is we are of course chaining our 1 between our last granny stitch and our double crochets. We're going to skip this space and this double crochet, and we're going to put 7 stitches, 1 into each double crochet, 7 double crochets. Okay, so right now you should have 3 stitches left. You'll double crochet 3 together over those next 3 stitches. So we are decreasing each side by 2 stitches now, where we were increasing by 2 stitches. All right, go ahead and chain 2, turn your work. This is our decrease row 2, but it is also the last row of our heart. So we're going to work our double crochet 3 together over the first 3 stitches. This one is already worked. Into the next and the next stitch, and you've got your double crochet 3 together. You should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches left. We are going to double crochet into each one of those. And then we're going to work the top of our hearts all the way through the end, just as we would any other hearts. Putting our 2 double crochets, chain 1, granny, I will meet you right back at the end of the row. Okay, so now that we've completed the last row of our hearts, you should have your hearts fully completed. Finishing up the decrease round 2, we're going to have our last 2 double crochets into the space, and then we're going to put 5 double crochets, 1 on top of each of the next 5 double crochets. And now you should have 3 stitches left. 2 double crochets and 1 double crochet 3 together. We are going to double crochet 3 together over those next 3 stitches. Just like that. Chain 2, turn your work, and we're starting out with our double crochet 3 together. Now in this row, what we're going to do, because we are decreasing 1 heart, we're not going to start a heart way over here. We're actually going to have our series of double crochets, and then we're going to start our first heart here. So in my sample blanket here, I've got 3 hearts, and now I'm going to move down to 2 hearts. So the first thing I'm going to do, have your 3 double crochets together. And we are going to double crochet in each and every stitch and chain space for the next 31 stitches. Your 22nd stitch should fall into the last chain space of the current heart you're working on top of. 22,
23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and 31.
Okay, so now you've got your 31 stitches. This stitch is your 22nd stitch in, but at the same time, like it was before, it's also 10 stitches from here to here. Now we've got our chain 1, skip 1, and double crochet, and this is where our first heart is going to start. Okay, now in between the other hearts, you're going to do just like normal, starting with your 35 stitches and then putting that in. So go ahead and finish that to the length of your blanket, and I will meet you back right after you start your first heart. Right after you start your last heart. Okay, so this is the beginning of my last heart. I've got 1 heart here right before my decrease. That's the heart that I'm not going to be working over on the other side. And you should have 31 stitches, 31 double crochets from this point to the end. And then you should have your 3 double crochets left, which you'll do a 3 double crochet together over those 3 stitches. All right, so go ahead and do that, and I will meet you back at the beginning of decrease row 4. So decrease row 3 is the first row of your decrease repeat. Okay, so here are your numbers for your decrease rows. I'm not going to show them to you every single time. You pretty much know what you're doing, creating your hearts and having your spaces between your hearts. So now you need to know the numbers for your decrease row. Your decrease row 3, which is the first row of your heart, you're going to have 31 stitches between your chain 1 space and your 3 double crochet together. Okay? Now, let me show you on this one. Okay, so the first row of your heart in your decrease, you're going to have 31 stitches between your chain 1 space and your 3 double crochet together at the beginning of your row. You're also going to finish with 31 double crochets and then ending 3 double crochets together. So remember, we're mirroring. The front or the start looks exactly like the end. Okay, now in your second row of your heart, in your decrease, you're going to have 27 stitches between your last 2 double crochets and your double crochet 3 together. At the beginning and the end, you're going to have 27 stitches. The third row of your heart decrease, up to the last 2 double crochets, you're going to have 23 stitches. So notice as your heart is increasing, these stitches are decreasing by 4. So you're going to have 31, 27, 23, 19, 15, and then 11. Now this is where we're not creating our heart to be bigger anymore. So once you get to 11 here, once you get to the 7th row of your heart decrease, you're going to have 9 stitches. So we're only decreasing by 2 stitches. Your next row, you're going to have 7, and the last row of your heart is going to have 5. And then you'll begin all over again up here with 31 and starting a new heart. Still having your 35 stitches in between them, just like we did before. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to work this one out into my decreases that I just explained to you. And I am going to come back, then I'm going to come back and show you all the numbers for the rest of your corner after you finish your last heart. Okay? Okay, so now that we have gotten through our last heart, the last thing we're going to do is continue with double crochets all the way across with 3 double crochets together in the beginning and the end. So you have your chain 2, double crocheting 2 together, that's creating our 3 double crochet together, and 1 double crochet in every single stitch across. Don't forget to double crochet into your chain spaces just like normal. And we're going to do this all the way until the end. Okay, so after you finish your heart, we're going to have a series of just double crochets throughout the next 8 rounds to complete. So how we're going to do that is between your double crochet 3 togethers at the start and the end of each row, this next row is going to have 27 double crochets in between, and then we're going to decrease by 4. So you'll have 23 double crochets. Again, we'll decrease by 4, and you'll have 19 double crochets, 15 double crochets, 11 double crochets, 7 double crochets, and then 3 double crochets in your second to last row. Your last row is going to be a chaining 2, double crocheting 2 together over the next 2 stitches to create a double crochet 3 together, and then a double crochet 2 together. So you're going to have your last stitches all worked into one row. All right, so go ahead and finish out all your hearts, and I will meet you back here at round 3 so we can create the border.